Welcome back to all of our viewers. We are continuing to keep you updated on India's counter-offensive that took place last night. There have been several attacks attempted by Pakistan on Indian Air Force bases. There have been attacks attempted by Pakistan using the Fateh missile to target Delhi. That was, of course, intercepted and was brought down close to Sirsa, is what government sources, defense ministry sources are indicating to us at this point in time. So there is a clear escalation that we are seeing at this point on the Pakistan side. There are several fake reports also about blasts, etc., in Jaipur, at the Jaipur airport. That is false. Those are false claims at this point in time. But operations continue. Things are getting far more serious. There is no attempt by Pakistan to dial back down at this stage. So it is a difficult situation. It is a complex situation and something that we are going to be updating our viewers about constantly. So a clear intensification of air operations is what we have seen. India has targeted 3 Pakistani air bases, and as you've been hearing our experts speak, this is being done in response now to Pakistan's attempts to escalate and to attack India, to attack Indian military establishments as well as civil targets in India. And so this is a preemptive move by India to try and disarm Pakistan by attacking those particular military establishments. Let me bring my colleague Parikshit Luthra back into the conversation. He's, of course, been tracking all the developments at this point in time, but we do want to make it very, very clear that all Indian air bases are safe. So that is very important to note. All Indian air bases are safe. Parikshit, let's just go back to India's response to the 3 air bases that have now been targeted by India in Pakistan as well. And more importantly, again, highlighting the use of the Fateh missile, which is a clear escalation by Pakistan.
Yes, let me start by speaking about the Fateh-II missile and why this is an escalation. Now, you've tried to use a missile to hit a strategic location, even though you may know very well that it's not going to hit the location at all. This is clearly a move, an indication to India that you want to escalate tensions. You're not dialing back. You're not looking for a proportionate response right now. Now, this is a guided artillery rocket system with a range of 250 to 400 kilometers. It has, it can carry conventional warheads. It is used for military operations to neutralize radars, military installations. It has a guidance system. It uses navigational aid. For example, when this missile is actually landing, it can correct its course as well. So this is a sophisticated piece of machinery that has now been intercepted in Sirsa, Haryana. Multiple areas along the border, around 26 locations from Baramulla in the north to Bhuj in the south, were targeted by the Pakistani forces last night. But the use of Fateh-II is a significant escalation. Let's just bring up the 3 air bases that have been targeted by the Indian forces in retaliation. Remember, all of this happening after we targeted Lahore, Shireen. You've got Noor Khan, you've got Murid, and you've got the Rafiki air base as well. In fact, now I'm getting to know from my sources, I've just got a call from an important source, and they indicated that not 3, at least 4 air bases in Pakistan have been targeted by the Indian forces. There is some news about 2 Pakistani fighters also being shot down. We're expecting some confirmation in a few hours from now.
Yes, the reason why we're not taking that information on record, on board at this point in time is because it hasn't been verified. We don't have a confirmation on any fighter jets on the Pakistan side being brought down. But let me bring in General S.V.P. Singh, retired former ADG Artillery and Defense Analyst. General Singh, many thanks for joining us here this morning on CNBC TV 18. You were there with us yesterday to take stock of the operations that had transpired the previous night. Now, with this clear escalation on the part of Pakistan, even attempting to target Delhi with the use of the Fateh missile, India responding and hitting perhaps as many as 4 air bases in Pakistan. General Singh, you know, this is now escalating, perhaps even beyond expectations that we had yesterday.
Good morning, Shireen, and thanks for inviting me. Well, Pakistan is doing what Pakistan can do, the madness of leadership, and it is continuing. India started off with a non-escalatory and restrained doctrine. Pakistan has responded with raw courage, I would say. Now, what does it mean? Fateh-II missile being used, it's a tactical missile for up to intermediate levels, 250 to 400 kilometers. It targets communication centers, and of all the things, trying to target Delhi speaks about their raw courage. Now, what we should do or what we can expect? Well, Pakistan is going to continue to up the ante. And that we have responded last night, I thought is about 24 hours too late, because Pakistan was continuing with heavy firing in the LOC area, particularly Uri and Punch, where we have suffered tremendous casualties and losses. So now this was not a good thing that we went on firing back, saying that, we have responded in equal measure and that ceasefire has been violated. There's no ceasefire after 22nd April. There's no ceasefire line. So we should do something there. Yesterday also I had spoken, the artillery is the thing. If it is so in the LOC area, then we should utilize sidestep contingency plans are there, the level of your artillery firepower systems. Now here, when what we see of Pakistan, how do we retaliate? How do we respond? We call ourselves a mature nation, practicing statecraft with international-based rules. So our maturity is at test, our patience is at test, and I want to say that all this time, perhaps, the will of the nation of Pakistan has not been fully assessed. We did not expect them to respond in the manner they have done. So we have to now pay back the price. We have to come out with our own cost-benefit analysis to decapitate Pakistan where it is possible in the realm right now. And that is, we must target their communication centers, nodes, which are very important. We are gone yesterday, but what this has achieved, the target assessment damage has still to emerge. We can go anywhere. If you have not hit the target, if you have not got the results, well, it really doesn't mean anything except for instilling fear in the public and in their administration. Now, having said this much, we have got so many options. See, India has got so many options, and we must exercise that. First of all, of course, always it is the diplomatic one. And there, yesterday also with the IMF having granted them a $2.5 billion loan is a great disappointment to us. I only wish that it comes out in bits and bits and does not come out in full flow, so that Pakistan remains under the constraint which they are in. Second is, in the diplomatic and the military front, we have got now today strategic partnerships with so many nations and special strategic partnership with USA, and they perhaps don't seem to be playing the ball right now. So we have to reach out to them. We have to reach out to them that they have to support this counter-terrorism operation which it started with, which is India's doctrine today for this warfare. It supports the entire world. It is not India. We want to root it out from Pakistan, and the Western world and the USA, they have to join hands with India at this time, because Pakistan is not learning the lesson. Yesterday only the defense minister said their madrasas are second line of defense. I mean, it's very shameful. They are growing up, they're breeding more snakes, vipers. Who has to nip the bud in this? Our country, being the neighborhood, we suffer on this, but we should not be the victim card anymore. We have taken the strategic step of proactive doctrine. Let us remain at that. We have got the comprehensive national power higher than Pakistan. We have got the economic might. We have got the military superiority. We have got the world right now with us, maybe lip service. Now we have to work on that. And when I come down to military part of it, there are many options, but it may not be appropriate me to give any advisory to the military leaders or the government on that. But there are so many options which the public, you and I understand. We have got the maritime front, we have got the land front, and we have got the air front. It's a multi-domain operation. We have to get active on our cyber, digital space. And I will add in that another multi-domain front, which we opened up on 22nd April when we said that Indus Water Treaty is no more existing. So we must honor them. And we can nip the bud. If yesterday the waters have been opened on the rivers, the flooding is there right now. So we nip the bud in the POK sector and right down to Akhnoor Jammu sector for any offensive ambitions of Pakistan, which they surely will be having. And herein I want to say that India has to rise. We have to be prepared now. They can target any of our communication centers anywhere. So we have been practicing our civil defense measures have to rise. We have to now be on the ball.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is a time for constant vigil, for all involved to be extremely agile in responding, as you're pointing out, General Singh. I will come back to you in just a second, but let me bring in Tilak Deveshwar, author and former member of the National Security Advisory Board, into the conversation as well. Mr. Deveshwar, we appreciate you joining us here, and also an important update. We'll get to Mr. Deveshwar in just a second, but it's also important to point out for our viewers at this point in time that the Ministry of External Affairs will brief the media at 10:30 a.m. So there's an important briefing, as you've been seeing. Typically, that briefing has been happening in the evening. We are now going to see that media briefing take place at 10:30 a.m., and I would imagine that they will give us clarity on what transpired last night and give us more details on the operations that are underway and the operations that took place overnight. 10:30 a.m. That is the briefing time for the media that has been just confirmed by the government. Ishan Bani with us as well, our colleague. Of course, he's been on the field reporting diligently for the last several days. Ishan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been another very long night and a very difficult night. Take us through what happened exactly and where we find ourselves this morning.
Yes, it started yesterday with broad daylight when the ceasefire violations took place in Uri, in Kupwara. A massive shelling took place overnight. What residents have told us that they were sleepless throughout the night. Majority of the people living in the harm's way have already moved out of those areas where ceasefire violations have now been frequent by Pakistan. And there is use of heavy artillery, which is destroying houses and reclaiming lives and injuring people. Many people are being treated at the hospital. What we know so far is in the morning, there was an attempt to breach the India's airspace, and that's when surface-to-air missiles and engagements actively were done in Srinagar, in other places as well. Yesterday, Avantipora, air base of the Indian Air Force was an attempted target by the drones sent in from Pakistan, but they were, taken down by the Indian Air Force, and later on the Srinagar airport, which is also a defense airport, and right now being handled by the Indian Air Force, was also attempted to be targeted. But that there also the missiles brought down those drones and ensure the safety of both the critical locations. If you talk about in the morning, there were 2 projectiles found on the outskirts of Srinagar. Possibility is that either it's a drone which was brought down, which is trying to attack somewhere in Srinagar, or it was a part of an aircraft which fell down. There's an actively forces are engaging with the enemy right now. The airspace is being closely monitored and guarded to ensure safety and security. India has also hit several Pakistan camps on the line of control, and also those places where they believe the launch pads of these outfits are located. So it's a multi-prompt approach where not only from the line of control, but also in the sky. The Indian Air Force is not only trying to guard it, the defense forces are not trying to guard it, but also trying to attack from where they have been receiving these drones into the Indian territory. The India's stand is that we'll hit every target where the India's territorial integrity is being challenged, where the drones are coming out from. So that those particular areas in Pakistan have been targeted, including some air bases. But the Pakistan is also trying to do a tit-for-tat action, trying to ensure that they are able to hit India's battle installations in Kashmir. But that has been averted. In Baramulla as well, where the important locations of the army is located, there also the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army ensured that the early detection ensured that there is no drone or any armed drone which can come and and actually create an impact on any of these locations. Remember, the sources had told us that some of the drones earlier were not armed, but now yesterday there were several drones which were armed and trying to harm the Indian locations. But they have been successfully tackled. It's tense out here in Srinagar. There have been sirens that happened last night, and also blackout happened. And in the morning, some areas have also heard sirens happening. In Jammu has been the most impacted place where several rockets have landed and several drones have actually landed in residential areas, creating panic among locals. In Rajouri, a junior Kashmir Administrative Service officer of an additional deputy commissioner rank of the district was killed in the ceasefire violation by Pakistan. Umar Abdullah, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, has tweeted on X saying that there is condolences with the families, and he has been shocked to know about this particular officer who was just yesterday with one of the deputy chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir taking tour of and stock of the situation, and overnight he was killed in that violation. So this tells you the intensity at which ceasefire violations taking place, while the drone attacks are mounting, which have now become missile attacks from India on the Pakistani sites where the drones were coming into Indian territory.
That's right, Ishan, and our prayers and condolences to the family there. But Ishan, I just want to understand from you at this point in time, can you take us through what we are seeing as far as the Srinagar airport is concerned? Because again, a lot of unverified information at this point in time about explosions being heard, etc. Is that true? Can you confirm that?
Yes, locals did hear explosion in and around Srinagar airport, but sources indicating the airport hasn't suffered any damage, and those were firing that was done to ensure that the drones which were coming towards Srinagar airport were brought down. So far the defense forces have been able to ensure that any of these drone projectiles do not hit Indian civilian population or any critical base. But in Jammu, there is definitely some areas where it has hit residential areas, where it has hit certain areas, and the forces are trying to ensure that they're able to defend very well all of these critical locations to the Indian establishment, particularly in Jammu and Kashmir, so that they could be defeated. The enemy's nefarious plan. The plan is to attack these vital installations and to create chaos and to ensure that the forces are not able to use these bases. The Avantipura air base and the Srinagar air station are very critical to the Indian Air Force in Kashmir, and that's where they were trying to ensure that they attack these places, but that hasn't happened. Multiple attacks have happened, but they have been responded. But apart from these air bases, the military establishment possibly and potentially on target. But yesterday in Baramulla, even people were around 9 o'clock when they heard and earth started shaking when the India fired several rockets and several projectiles to ensure that all these armed drones are brought down in the air and to ensure that they do not harm any army or defense establishment. It seems like they want to hit the Indian establishment, particularly these defense forces, the armed forces, but India is effectively so far responding to it. And in Srinagar, since morning, because schools are closed, colleges and universities are closed, people are in a little bit of panic because this kind of situation hasn't been seen. There was a little panic in 2019 post-Pulwama attack, but that hadn't triggered both the sides getting into so much of attacking, particularly the missile attacks that have taken place and drones being sent in. It's a kind of modern warfare in a reality in the current scenario. So all of this is happening at at a time when Kashmir was lingering towards normalcy and things were getting better. So the people are really in a stage of shock that what's happening and scared, but the administration is telling them don't be scared, be alert and vigilant, and nothing is going to happen, and we're going to try to protect you as much as possible.
Absolutely, Shanwani. Many thanks for joining us there. We will, of course, keep coming back to you for more and for the latest updates there from the area from Jammu and Kashmir. But thanks very much for joining us with the latest there. Let me go across to Tilak Deveshwar. Sir, many thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time here early in the morning. We'll get to him in just a second. But General Singh, coming back to you, as our colleague Ishan Vani was reporting there, obviously this kind of action, this kind of operation is not something that we have seen, and it's understandable for citizens to feel concerned, for a sense of panic. I mean, when you wake up in the morning and you see that there was an attempted missile attack, even targeting Delhi, I mean, it does cause panic at this point in time. But we are again clearly telling our viewers that please separate the fact from the fiction. That target, the missile was neutralized by India, and all our air bases are safe at this point in time. But, General Singh, you were talking about possible options from here, from the India side, and without wanting to speculate on what we may or may not do, what do you think would make logical sense?
Well, Shireen, first of all, you have said it. There should be no panic. But I would say India has woken up this morning. The red line perhaps is crossed if they had tried to target Delhi. So you ask me the options. Here also, I would say that we must retain the strategic initiative which Pakistan is trying to grab. And for that, we have to ensure in the international arena global legitimacy. Now, these are very important facts which I'm saying. And the third thing is the nuclear blackmail. So we have to have a strategic conventional threshold in our mind when we exercise our options. These are very important things. And the next point I will say, like the Fatah-II missile has been used, such sites we have to destroy first and foremost. Now, options are at strategic level. Options are at the operational and the tactical level. But right now, we have to hit them hard. The most important thing I feel in this operation is, perhaps in my assessment, flank of decision lies in the Pakistan's Western Front, the Arabian Sea, the maritime front. That is the one which can squeeze Pakistan on its economic front and its logistic supply, which would come in later. Now, this is very important fact. I would give this priority one. Second is, we have options. Yesterday, perhaps I had mentioned on your channel also that in my mind, the tooth tongue jo bolte hain, is not Kashmir, it is Lahore. We destroyed their air base there. We must take it forward. Lahore is the bridgehead to Pakistan for the southern Punjab, Bahawalpur, and Faisalabad, as well as Multan. And on its eastern front side, it serves through Sialkot, the POK axis, logistics, line of communication. So that is where that local cord of Pakistan has to be broken. Now, we are in the process of mobilization. I wish when we knew what was happening, and if we had assessed the enemy correctly, we should know. You plan 4 options, the enemy does the 5th. That is an old dictum for the armed forces. We should have been right on the point in this aspect. Now, so what we have to do, we have used our air, we have kept back our military, our army, the land forces. So we must now go forward in that. But yes, before that, we have got the multi-domain front. So the cyber, digital, these warfares have to be exercised. We have got on the cyber and digital, their banking system, their power grids. They are the ones which have to be targeted. At the same time, protecting our own. Whatever you plan on the opposite side, we should first ensure that we are well protected, we are well entrenched to safeguard our own interests and ensure no further losses. And most of all, we have to now control the airspace. We should not let them get into the Indian airspace. We should now create what I can say is an air denial zone. Gone are the days of air superiority, which we practiced. And I think the last time the world saw it was in East Pakistan, Bangladesh, where we had a complete air superiority. So at least we can practice the air denial zones. And these are very important aspects which are in my mind, which we should exercise, take forward, and be, for God's sake, preemptive, proactive doctrine now should be our mantra.
Right, General Singh, thank you very much for joining us here this morning. Let me also bring in Mr. Tilak Deveshwar, author and former member of the National Security Advisory Board, into the conversation. Mr. Deveshwar, many thanks for joining us this morning on CNBC TV 18 to take stock of where we find ourselves in this ladder of escalation. And clearly what we've seen yesterday from Pakistan with the attempted use of the Fateh missile is several rungs up, I would imagine, in the escalation ladder. Mr. Deveshwar, from your vantage point, is this now snowballing into something much, much larger?
Thank you. Certainly, I think Pakistan has gone up a couple of rungs in the escalation ladder. One, trying to target Delhi, the national capital. Second, I think this morning the Pakistan Prime Minister has called for a meeting of the National Command Authority. The National Command Authority is the apex body in Pakistan that looks at nuclear issues and takes decisions on the nuclear issue. It could well be just a feint, just a psychological, trying to scare everybody. But it needs to be factored in so that they are not coming down, they're not scaling back or not trying to de-escalate, but in fact they are trying to escalate. In addition, they have targeted civilian targets. I've seen from your screen, images of Jammu houses and other places being attacked. They have targeted your military bases. So now this is moving gradually into a no-holds-barred confrontation. Yeah. And I think India has also responded very strongly, and by targeting the Rawalpindi air base and a couple of other bases. And I think we need to be, I think today and tomorrow are going to be very critical days. Yeah. Whether this dials down, whether people sort of see sense, Pakistan sees sense and comes down the escalatory ladder, or does it put it up even a notch higher? I also feel that by calling a meeting of the National Command Authority, Pakistan is trying to draw attention of the international community so that they somehow intervene and de-escalate the situation, which Pakistan can't do, perhaps is not able to do on its own, because it knows it's on the back foot. The whole thing was started off by those terrible killings in Pahalgam.
Yes.
Which the international community has come out very strongly against, and Pakistan finds itself isolated. So they are now looking for an off-ramp and hope that the US, even China, Saudi Arabia, or the UAE, or somebody else intervenes and tells them to dial down. So they're looking for this off-ramp, and I think it also shows a lot of desperation in the way they have gone about it on the last two nights.
Yes, and I do want to highlight what Mr. Deveshwar was referencing there. The Pakistan Prime Minister has called a meeting of the body that oversees nuclear arsenal, says the Pakistan military establishment. This is being reported by Reuters. It's essentially saying that Shehbaz Sharif has called a meeting of the National Command Authority on Saturday, and the authority is the top body of the civilian and military officials that take security decisions, including those related to the country's nuclear arsenal. But as you were pointing out, Mr. Deveshwar, this could very well just be psyops, or it could also be, as you were pointing out, an attempt to get the world to focus much more squarely on what is happening here in the region. But specifically, the US, there is a readout of Secretary Marco Rubio's conversation with the Pakistan Prime Minister. And it's interesting there, while there is, of course, a call for dialogue, it's a call for de-escalation. Marco Rubio's readout says very clearly that he told the Pakistan Prime Minister that Pakistan should not support any terror groups any further. So, how do you see the US intervening in this matter? The Saudis, we had the Saudi Minister of State here in India, also has met with Pakistan officials. How do you believe the Saudis are likely to play this?
Yes, so I'm sure Saudis, the Iranian foreign minister had visited Pakistan a couple of days ago, then he came to India. The Saudis have met both sides, and as you mentioned, even the US. Pakistan's problem is that the terror infrastructure, which they have built over the last 3 decades, and no less than the defense minister of Pakistan admitted on a television interview that they have been doing this for the last 30 years. Now, they will find it very difficult to dismantle this architecture, because if they do, then you have so many trained jihadis who will be out on the streets with nothing to do and who are incapable of doing a job. What do they do? So they've been trained to do jihad in Afghanistan and in India. Maybe they'll start doing jihad in Pakistan itself. So Pakistan is really riding a tiger, that as far as terrorism is concerned. But if they don't rupture this terror architecture, they will continue to be on the receiving end from countries that are affected by terrorism. I mean, India has made it very clear, both after Uri and after Pulwama, that there cannot be any terror in interstate relations. And we thought that Pakistan had learned its lesson for the last 5 years. But then Pahalgam happened, and it just shows that Pakistan hasn't learned its lesson. So I agree with you, as I mentioned also, that this meeting of the National Command Authority is probably to get international attention to focus on it and to bring the two countries back to a position where they are able to talk. So that is what their intention seems to be. But I think it's going to be a long haul back for Pakistan to walk back and come back to being a normal state.
Yes, it is going to be a long haul. We are, of course, waiting for the briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Defense. But Mr. Deveshwar, in terms of options that India can exercise at this point in time, and to General Singh's point that we must now act preemptively, that so far India's response has been more retaliatory in nature, what would you say, the options are before India?
No, I think, as we have demonstrated through the last 3 days, our response has been proportionate. It's been responsible. We don't want to go up the escalatory ladder. But at the same time, we are going to defend our territory and hit back where we find that we are being hurt from. But to go in for preemption at this stage, I think would be a little premature. We need to wait and watch and see how the situation develops. Because once you start taking preemptive action, then you are going straight up the escalatory ladder. And Pakistan's doctrine is of first use, nuclear first use. You don't want to go into that situation where even if they want to use tactical nuclear weapons, we don't want that happening at all. So I don't think so we should go in for preemption against military formations or civilian targets. Yes, preemption against terrorist groups, terrorist camps, that's fine. We did that last time also. But as a doctrine of preemption to attack Pakistan right now, I think would be, in my personal view, would be a little premature at this stage because we don't want to go up the escalatory ladder so fast.
Absolutely. And in fact, we now have a statement coming in from the Indian Army. Pakistan's blatant escalation with drone strikes and other munitions continues along our western borders. In one such incident today at approximately 5 in the morning, multiple enemy armed drones were spotted flying over Khasa Cant, Amritsar. The hostile drones were instantly engaged and destroyed by our air defense units. Pakistan's blatant attempts to violate India's sovereignty and endanger civilians is unacceptable. The Indian Army will thwart enemy design. So this is the official statement that has now come in from the Indian Army. Mr. Deveshwar, it's been a pleasure. We will, of course, keep coming back to you, sir, and we would appreciate it if you could make time for our viewers, because we do want rational opinion and rational insights and perspective, more importantly, here on the program that will benefit our viewers in this sensitive situation. But we truly appreciate you joining us here this morning. Tilak Deveshwar there with us. Parikshit, very quickly, any further updates? That statement coming in now from the Indian Army.
That's right. In fact, we've been getting reports about very heavy military engagement all along the LOC. In fact, there are dogfights on as well. This is what our sources tell us. Very heavy artillery shelling by Pakistan along the LOC. Aerial drone attacks reported at 26 locations along the LOC, and all these drone attacks have happened in 2 waves. There was a wave this morning as well, and those were intercepted. Many drones were brought down as well. Active military operations on, engagement of aerial targets on as well. I would just like to go over the list of airports which are now shut. This is important for our viewers. And let's also point out that Pakistan has now completely shut its commercial airspace. So the airspace is shut in Pakistan till 12 noon today. Now, this only goes to show that they are expecting a strong retaliation from India as well. PIA 218, that was the last airborne flight in its airspace, and it was forced to hover over Quetta and Balochistan, and it had made an emergency landing. No commercial flight is airborne in Pakistan right now. Let me also go over the list of airports. There are now 32 of them. There are airports like Adhampur, which have been added, Ambala, Amritsar, was already shut. Avantipur has been added to the list. Bhatinda is shut. Bhuj Airport, Bikaner Airport, Chandigarh, Halwara are shut. Hindon Airport, which is in Ghaziabad, not very far from the national capital, that has been shut as well. Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, that had seen some action last night. There were some explosions heard, drone attacks attempted, all of that intercepted and brought down. Jamnagar, there are some very important assets there. You've got Jodhpur, Kandla, Kangra, Keshot, Kishangarh, Kullu, Manali, Leh, Ludhiana, Mundra, Nalia, Pathankot, Patiala, Porbandar, Rajkot, Saraswat, Shimla, Srinagar, Thois, Uttar Lai. So 32 airports which have now been shut down. Other airports in the country are functioning normally, but of course flights will be impacted as a result of these closures. We also believe that temporary closure of 25 segments of the air traffic service, 25 routes between Delhi and Mumbai are going to be closed because of operational reasons. This is because when you have 32 airports in the country along the border which are shut, clearly connecting routes will be impacted. So we are going to see an impact on operations, but are airports all across the country shut? Can you not enter them? No, that's not the case. You can still catch your flight depending on where you're going and whether the flight is available right now. But these are the list of 32 airports, and you'll also find this on the Ministry of Civil Aviation website, cnbctv18.com, and our Twitter handles will also be putting this out. Very important information coming in, and the reason why more airports are now being shut is because Pakistan has tried to target places such as Hisar. They have tried to target Delhi. My colleague Amrit just pointed out to me that the distance between Hisar and Delhi is about 280 to 300 kilometers. And that's why all these arrangements are now being made that shut down airports wherever Pakistan could possibly attempt. We could look at a further escalation over the next few hours. Considering that the Pakistani airspace is shut till about noon today, means that Pakistan is expecting dogfights to escalate. We are in a very active state of military operations right now.
We are in a very active state of military operations, Parikshit, as you pointed out, and we are going to give our viewers constant updates. Verified information, of course, will be updated here on CNBC TV 18. Archana, any further updates coming in? There are also more fake claims that are being debunked. Anything fresh to report?
Yes, Shireen, before I get to that, I would also like to update our viewers about what the BSF is saying. The BSF has issued a statement saying that on May 9th, at about 2100 hours, Pakistan opened fire on BSF posts in the Jammu sector without any provocation. The BSF is responding in a commensurate manner, causing widespread damage to posts and assets of Pakistan Rangers along the international boundary. Our resolve to protect India's sovereignty is unshaken. So both the army and the BSF issuing statements there. And as you asked about the latest fact check, indeed the PIB has issued the latest fact check because there was propaganda that was floating around that 3 Indian Air Force jets crashed in the Himalayas. That is fake news. That is absolutely false. Several pro-Pakistan social media accounts were falsely claiming that 3 fighter jets crashed in different areas of the Himalayan region. That claim is fake. And that image which is being circulated is old and it dates back to 2016. So this is the latest that the government that is debunking the propaganda being spread by Pakistani social media handles.
That is right. So that is the latest there as far as what is going on. Very quickly, Parikshit, coming back to that briefing, there is going to be a briefing of the Ministry of Defense as well as the Ministry of External Affairs scheduled now for 10:30. Typically, we've been seeing these briefings happen in the evening at around 5:30 or so, but this has now been advanced to the morning, obviously, given what we've seen happen overnight and the quick escalation of things, the many developments that have taken place. Parikshit, what can we expect now? We've just seen that Indian Army statement, but that's essentially restricted to talking about only one aspect. It hasn't talked about the Fateh missile use, etc., or its neutralization. So I would imagine we'd have to wait for more details in that briefing.
You're absolutely right. First, there was a briefing, and we must tell our viewers, which was scheduled at 5:45 a.m. in the morning at the Ministry of Defense. That was at the last moment called off because an operation was underway. There was a second swarm of drones, which we were reporting. That happened around 5 a.m. Multiple enemy armed drones spotted flying over Khasa Cant in Amritsar. And this is a difference over what happened on 8th and 9th. At that time, many unarmed drones were being sent towards India. That was to gather intelligence, reconnaissance, and also see the response of the Indian forces where our anti-aircraft guns are located. Now you're hitting back with armed drones. So this goes on to show that you are now beginning an actual operation. So Pakistan has now initiated an operation against us, and that's why the morning briefing at 5:45 a.m. Was called off. At 10:30 a.m., we are going to get a comprehensive update from Colonel Sophia Qureshi of the Army, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, External Affairs Secretary, Foreign Affairs Secretary Vikram Misri. They are going to give operational details. We would also like to tell our viewers that there is some news coming in of Pakistani fighter jets being shot down in aerial engagements with India. Our sources saying that there is some amount of credibility to those reports. We have some information about that, but we are going to hold that till we get a formal briefing from the Air Force, the Army, and the Foreign Secretary as well. You know, there are lots of moving parts to this puzzle, but it's best to stay with the formal statements that come in. There has been some damage that has been caused to the Pakistani side, especially air bases in Murid, in Rafiki, the Noor Khan Air Base. Pakistani drones, fighter jets have been impacted as well. We're waiting for a complete picture. Sometimes Air Force, Army, Navy, the MOD takes time to bring all these things to fore because you want to come back with a full picture. You don't want to give piecemeal commentary. You want to give evidence and you want to give a holistic picture. But dogfights are on in places all along the LOC. 26 areas is what we are told. There were at least 2 sets of drone attacks since 8 p.m. yesterday. One happened around 10:30, 11. One happened around 5 a.m. this morning. So our air defenses on the highest state of alert. And as we've been reporting, Shireen, you've got the Barak 8 missiles, you've got the Akash air defense systems, you've got the L-70 guns, you've got the Shilka defense system of Russian origin, and the S-400 air defense system as well. All of them working very actively. You've got the Scalp missiles, the Hammer missiles being used by the Rafale fighters. So we're using the best weapons in our arsenal. There's very heavy artillery firing going on from the Pakistani side. India also responding very, very strongly as well. But the use of the Fateh-II missile is a significant escalation. I'll stop there.
Parikshit, many thanks. Archana, many thanks. We will, of course, take a quick break. But do remember, as Parikshit is pointing out, these are fast-moving developments, and we will keep you updated on everything that's happening here on CNBC TV 18, verified information. We are going to be back shortly with more, and stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 for the latest. We'll take a break and back in a moment.